Hi, I'm just sat in my car and I'm just reflecting about things like, it's been 5 years since the first lockdown and what strange times that was. People didn't know if they were coming or going to begin with. I was selling a house, that all fell through. It was complete chaos. We'd never experienced anything like it. And the politicians were, quite heavy-handed to say the least. And, a lot of people were very bemused and confused and discombobulated by it as well. So, it was very strange times to be living through, wasn't it? And, then came, the job cuts and, all of the people in the care homes being sort of isolating and many of them catching COVID and dying on their own, and also the Midazolam scandal. So, looking back on it all, it did feel little bit like a living nightmare, didn't it? Dystopia, absolute dystopia, like Ben was talking about, Ben Daniels, thanks, Ben, because I really appreciated the video you made and it inspired me to do this one. And, there was a whole thing about wearing masks and the 2 meter rule between people, and everybody seemed to take it on board. I'll never forget going to the supermarket and, everything was outlined for you, where you had to go and what you had to do, and it was like a one-way thing. And gosh, it was absolutely terrifying. That's the only word I can use. And after that, I literally downloaded an app on my phone and just got food delivered. I mean, I'm quite a self-sufficient person, so the lack of contact and, the bit where you sort of had to stay indoors and not socialise, I actually quite embraced that and started up my own painting on tiles company. Ended up sending them all over the UK. But, a lot of people maybe not as self-sufficient as myself. And, it caused a lot of harm, especially to children. So, also my views were not looked upon, they were frowned upon by most of my family. And I remember having to maybe face a Christmas without my family because they didn't agree with me not having the jab. So, there was this whole thing of being ostracized, of, oh, you're going to kill Granny, you're so inconsiderate by not taking the jab. But now we know what we know. People like John Campbell, he was all for pushing the jab initially. And now, it's horrifying to see the effects and the illnesses and the deaths, the sudden deaths caused by so many of them. But yeah, it was a very strange time. It was almost surreal. And I feel like, in a lot of ways, it kind of reset society. It was like almost, oh no, you can't use cash, the virus might spread. And there's a lot of paranoia. So, if you made it through that time and you stood by your morals and your principles, well done. It was a big thing. And there was a lot of camaraderie amongst us who, did feel quite a resistance when we realised what was going on. And many of these people, they haven't been held accountable. It's been proven that, these vaccines were not safe and effective at all. So they lied, they pushed them, they marketed them. But, to me, it didn't make any sense to market something like this. It was like, why market a pandemic? Why market vaccines? It was just absolutely crazy. Anyway, I just wanted to sort of talk a little bit about that. And, just as we should be free to express ourselves. The other thing was, at that time, there was so much censorship on YouTube and this kind of thing, and things getting taken down. And it was like, follow our fact checkers, But where are the fact checkers now? Yeah. And freedom, I think our freedoms of expression, freedom of speech has been really taken away. Gradually it's been eroded, but that was really the beginning of it. So, you know, that was one of the first crises, and ever since we've had one crisis after another, which has been very carefully orchestrated. At the moment, it's the farmers, but there was also, you know, there's the cost of living crisis. I myself presently have 3 jobs so that I can feed myself well and live well and pay my bills. I mean, it's crazy. But, and then recently the cuts to disability allowance, it's just absolute insanity. Anyway, so that's my rant about the COVID years, or Convid years. And, you know, it all just seems so surreal, doesn't it? Loads and loads of love to you, and stay strong, and let's reach out to each other. I think that's the key. All right, take care. Bye for now.